listening to a live episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to this special episode of Surviving the Survivor, the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime. Today, it's Ask Us Anything. And let me just tell you a quick story. When I was an old news guy, along with Steve Cohen, who you see on the screen, all the things that we would edit out and put on the edit room floor typically is what I would put into the story. And this is no different. Karm is trying to get on. She can't do it. The COE is trying to do it. And I'm going to show you guys in real life how this looks and sounds. Bugs, where's Karm?
Okay, now I should see, like, sign in.
Okay, there you go, everyone. You can hear Karm.
Yeah, you need to sign in now.
You can hear the COE.
No, Grandma. I don't think
Steve Cohen is incredulous. Steve Cohen's not even framed up properly. Lower that. There we go. That's good.
Okay.
I want to bring him back in here. I want to bring him back in, and then we'll get into the show. We're also waiting for Space Coast.
Now, and she's entering the studio.
Oh, perfect.
This is what goes on every day in my life,
Okay,
right
but
here
you
in the
have
back.
to make sure you enter. Okay, hold on. I don't see it.
See this, everyone? This is what goes on every day in real life. I'm leaving it up.
As long as her name says Karm, yeah, that's fine.
Steve Cohen, how was your Friday?
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I feel good. I think you have a good instincts in trying to do that. And there we go.
Sit down.
That's
Karm,
what
you're on camera. You were just caught yelling at your grandchild live on camera, telling them to sit down.
The thing started?
It started, and I started on purpose so everyone could see. You're a little off. Your framing is a little. Your framing's a little off.
Like this way.
Joel, first question of the day.
For
Steve Cohen, I'm coming back to you. First question of the day. This is once again true crime. It's a lot to handle day in, day out. So we decided on this Friday, with Phil and Scott not here, that we were going to do an Ask Anything. Space Coast was upset with me that I did not have him on the thumbnail. That was my bad. He better get on here. First question of the day, Karm. Can you hear us? Karm?
Yes, I hear you.
First question comes from Kathleen Barrett. If you could, would you switch places with your overachieving sister? The short answer is no. The longer answer is I probably should, for a number of reasons. She's a lot more responsible. She's a medical doctor. She's got her stuff together.
Saves lives.
Valedictorian of her high school class. But I sort of like the chaos of my life better. It is the most unorganized chaos, and I couldn't love it more. Tara, that's why I brought it in. I'm sorry, Steve Cohen. You're a face that people rarely see. Tell everyone about yourself for a moment, Steve Cohen. Who you are. Who is Steve Cohen?
Well, thank you for asking.
And by the way, this is so far and away our lowest numbers that we've ever had to start a show, but it's all good. Go ahead, Steve.
Wait a minute. I'll bribe a few people to get on the show.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me. I would during the pandemic. You and I have knew each other from the TV world. We're both around the same age, although you don't hesitate to acknowledge you look a lot younger than I do. But
no, not necessarily. He just likes to think that.
Yeah, exactly. And we both had a big background in TV, and we started doing the podcast. You started doing with your mom, and you brought me in there as my background was as a producer. I worked at in radio first, WCBS Radio, ABC Radio, CBS Early Show, then Good Day New York. We overlapped at Good Day New York, not long enough. It's the New York Fox affiliate. And so we knew of each other, and then a mutual friend put us together for this. And to be honest, it's been an amazing ride with you, your mom, Ileana, Space Coast, the mods, this whole community of people that we've gotten to know. And it's been a really, really great adventure. And, we've gotten to, as I like to say, like, you get into news to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable, and to really tell stories, and we're able to do it. I think along the journey, there are times you're kind of like, are we doing the right thing? Do we miss being part of the establishment? And as I would say to you, as what Steve Jobs used to always say, would you rather be part of the Navy, or do you want to be a pirate? Now, I don't think we're pirates, so to speak, but we're doing our own thing. You get to work with your mom. You wrote a book that we hope will be a bestseller.
You said it, not me. You mentioned, by the way, COE, put the book tour graphic up.
And so anyway, you get to be with your mom. You get to be around home more. And I think successful people focus on the flowers, not the weeds. And we're really building something really meaningful. So it's great to be a part of it.
Thank you. And Steve, by the way, both your sisters are much more successful than you
I would say
too.
all three of them. And again, even a turtle looks fast moving past a rock. And I think it's a good question about, would you rather trade places? And the version of that is when you talk about your troubles as well, not just successes, right? There's that old story, like everybody would take their troubles, put them in a pile. And if you could take anybody else's troubles, invariably you would take your own, because you know what they are, and you know how to deal with them. And I'm sure a lot of the people that we've been through, and, I was just kind of working on the newsletter and thinking about, say, the Greenbergs who lost their daughter, or Ruth Markel, or those poor women in Kansas, or people who've undergone a lot of stuff. They would probably tell you that things happen for them, not to them. And they kind of, and whether it's, Karm with her background and the pain that she suffered through, and how she's working to turn the pain into purpose, and just to kind of live through things. So, I mean, I think about that sometimes. I feel like, about, we all probably could look back and be like, oh, we could have been a better student, or we could have made more money, or we could have done this. And I feel like you have to live in the moment, and tomorrow, we could be 3 feet from gold spiritually and actually. So I think we all have to just, we have to be ourselves. Everybody else is taken, right? So I'm glad for my sisters. I'm glad for their successes, their happiness, and nobody else's success comes at our expense. So I think, and I know you asked me what time it is, and I'm telling you how to build a watch, but I think the idea is just to,
I love this.
for us, it's to focus on our own situation. And Karm says that to us, like, if we're worried about other podcasters or other YouTubers, we have to cultivate our own garden, control what we could control. Comparison's the thief of joy.
Very well said, Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen with a much higher IQ than me. Ileana, COE. There she is. Look at this. A special Friday. There's Z-Bugs. There's Fred. There's J-Mac.
Wait a minute.
What's up,
I am blessed with all these granddaughters, and one came to rescue me. And finally, it was Ileana who rescued me with this darn barnyard. But
StreamYard, not barnyard.
But I want you to meet one sample of my granddaughters.
Where's the perfect daughter?
Come there and say hello.
Karm, where's the perfect daughter?
The perfect daughter is, of course, cooking.
Go blow your nose, baby.
We've got a lot of questions. These are actually great questions once again.
But anyway, let me introduce you to Rael.
Hey, Rael. Rael is the perfect daughter's daughter.
This is my good daughter's daughter.
You call her Rocky. Rocky is...
Rocky will very shortly be... Put your face there.
She's the perfect daughter's daughter.
RN, and she will be the best RN that you ever saw in your life. She's
been studying to become a nurse. Congrats with that. We've got questions, Karm. Nikki Cuds, our friend in New York, that's coming to the book signing on May 19th at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. Nikki Cuds, what was the most difficult thing about Joel as a teenager, Karm? Catherine says the show's already off the rails.
I thought of something not so absolutely beautifully wonderful, but funny. I think what you see is what was when he was a teenager. Well, he is still a teenager.
Karm, this show confirms 1,000% that it's only the subject matter that matters, because we're talking about us, and I don't think I've ever seen this low in number. So I'm happy to
Joel,
know
stop
that.
being upset. Stop being upset. Those are the very important people who are watching it.
This is a great question. Joel, do you have a full body picture of Phil Waters on the ceiling above your bed? I would actually love that, but I do not yet. Z-Bugs, go ahead. You're up here. Have something pertinent to say. Don't waste our time.
So what I need to say is I shaved my eyebrow.
Part of your eyebrow. And tell people, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
I just did it because, I felt like doing it.
Okay, well, that's
Just
not
because
always the best reason, but I'm glad you're a free spirit.
Listen,
Patricia Banks, getting political here. I don't know that I love this, but there's enough time that has passed. Who did Karm vote for in 1960 and why? I don't even know if I know who ran for office.
I have a very easy answer. I have
Yes.
a very, very easy answer. In 1960, I was still sweating bullets in Geneva, Switzerland, trying to get my college degree. I was not married, and I didn't have the right to vote here. And I didn't have the right to vote in Switzerland because I was a refugee from what then was communist Yugoslavia. So I had to run to the police every 3 months to extend my refugee visa in Switzerland.
Are you going to cover the Karen Reed trial once it gets ramped up? The short answer is we're going all in. Steve Cohen is the man that makes the magic happen. He's been on the phone all day, and I know because I get the text messages. This trial scares the crap out of me. Number one, I can't follow it. It's so convoluted, but I'm doing my homework this weekend. Number two, we're taking the trial live on this channel, and at least Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday, we're going to do shows. Shout out to Analytical Blarney, friend of the show here. We're going to do shows on Karen Reed. And by the way, please give us your feedback as we go through. Space Coast, how come I don't see it? Get your deadhead emoji off and get on here immediately, Space Coast. You can leave your emoji up, but get on here at least. My question for Karm is, did your husband, may my dad rest in peace, did he like it when you would curse? And did he like to curse?
He never cursed. And he said, Karmela, stop that language, very calmly. He didn't like it when I cursed. And I tell you, you will never believe this. I cursed very little, virtually not at all. And I have witnesses. I have witnesses that I only curse with your beloved Joel.
Steve Cohen, I know your parents are roughly around my parents. So your mother is older than my mother by a bunch of years. Yeah. How was that in its prime? Would your mother yell at your father? They seem much more civil than my parents. How would you describe that relationship?
I think that my mom is also an immigrant like Karm. My mom came over from Egypt in the 50s, and
that's
came
why
over.
Steve is tall, dark, and handsome.
Exactly.
The Egyptian skin.
Yeah. And she, I think they had a different dynamic. My dad, your dad, was a physician. He's a gastroenterologist who retired, and he moved down to the 6th borough, the motherland, Florida. But I think they had their tension. I mean, they've been married since 1963. I think to answer that previous question, I think my dad voted for Kennedy, not Nixon, in the 1960 election, but
that was not 19. That was in 1960.
Yeah, I wasn't around, even though Joel will say I was. But
I was
in college then.
I know that Kennedy was
the famous Nixon Kennedy debates where people always talk about that in journalism. Also, because I remember Don Hewitt, who ran 60 Minutes, was working on that debate, and Nixon had a 5 o'clock shadow or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you know, but it definitely turned the election just on appearances and how JFK looked youthful and kind of, kind of lent an optimism. But my parents, I think who is it that said like all happy families are alike in the same ways and all unhappy families? I mean, I think my mom, she wasn't that type, nor was she quintessential Jewish mother, which sometimes it's pejorative, like being kind of shrewish or just domineering.
Right.
I think she had a different dynamic having been from Egypt or coming over as an immigrant. But I think
Was
overall,
Steve, was she tough on you? Was she tough on you?
I didn't find her that tough on me. I think
the thing I love about Karm, she's never tough on me, never hard on me at all. We had Steve, I don't even know this, but local Miami, the CBS crew was at the condo today doing a story on Karm. And first thing she does when they leave is criticize me. I won't tell you why, but I got criticized. Karm, do you care to address that?
If I cannot say for what, I try to give you are terrific.
You can say for what.
I took 2 witnesses, and in front of 2 witnesses, I said, you are terrific. You organize things. You wrote a book about me. You are the most wonderful of all the sons that I ever knew. And I have to say that in spite of that, I dare to give you a suggestion. And you just didn't like that.
Steve's mom coddled him. I got tough love. From Jerry Michael, this goes to Steve Cohen. How do you decide, Steve, what topics you cover and decide what guests to bring in? Great question. By the way, this is for Z-Bugs. Adorable voice, but please don't shave anything.
Okay. Thanks for the question. I think it's a collaborative kind of situation. I mean, I for all these stories, there's a part of me that feels like if somebody has really covered it well, or have a certain type of background that we're looking for, that, I would want them to do it. Like if they have, it's kind of like in the movie Dodgeball, if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. Like if you're a former federal prosecutor, former FBI agent, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be good on camera, but I think most of the time they are. And I think to Joel's credit, and he really is very effective about it, with it. He brings out the best in these guests. I think sometimes if you have 2 or 3 people, you're kind of amortizing the risk of if you just have one person who's kind of underwhelming or not a good communicator. But I try and get up to speed on it and see if people have the right background. I've seen if people have already commented on it sometimes, which is a way of saying, well, all right, I don't have to worry about them getting up to speed on it. And they've kind of been vetted. But we've also found a number of people on our own. And one I think I want to shout out is Tara Malik, who never did any TV, Jessica Bublitz in Idaho. And then all of a sudden they're doing Law and Crime, Court TV, other podcasts. And that's great. We want everybody to succeed. And, so we're happy about that.
By the way, give us, as we dip into Karen Reed here, send us your suggestions about which guests you'd like to see. There's a comment here. This happens to be my niece's husband, Yaron, and he lives in Israel. And I want to special shout out to both Yaron and Joe, both of my, what are they? They're my brother. They're like they're my niece-in-laws or something like that.
I hope they are not your nieces, because both are guys.
But anyway, both of them are going back. They're here in Miami for Passover. When they go back, they are going to the border of Lebanon. They're both Army reservists, and they're going to protect the state of Israel.
Don't give away locations.
And from the
May
border of Lebanon. And Yaron says, Karm, right? Yaron wants to know, who is your favorite honorary grandson? Is it him or Joe? Make a choice.
He wants me to say him.
Make a choice.
I am very, very even-handed and really know how to create a just situation. So I would say he's my favorite, and also Alon is my favorite, and also Joe is my favorite. all three of them. I'm overjoyed to have three such wonderful, I call them my honorary grandsons.
By the way, they're both in an elite unit, the same unit,
Stop it,
coincidentally.
stop it. If you are so envious, go and fight.
And those are real men. I could never do that, even though they're half my age. I could never do that. I'd be Steve Cohen. How would you and I be in battle? Do you think in the foxhole together?
I think that I wonder sometimes, because my dad used to say this about medicine. He would say doctors aren't born, they're made, and like you or me, like it wasn't for us, right? And certain things aren't for us. But if you think the 300,000 or 500,000 reservists in the Israeli army, or people who do it, necessity is the mother of invention. If we had to do it, we would do it, and obviously it's harder to teach an older dog new tricks. But I think I would I immediately think that's for me or for you? No. But I definitely wouldn't think so. But
nobody asked those two. So it wasn't a choice. It was like there is compulsory military service, and A and B, they are not in the army, they are in reserves.
Yeah.
So because they are 30-year-old, they're old already.
Yeah, but they still get shot at like regular soldiers.
And they do what regular soldiers do. And in any case,
by the way, Karm, look at this. Rachel says, I just visited Switzerland for the first time last month. Lugano is beautiful. Karm, many people don't know this. You grew up you went to University of Geneva in Switzerland, and your own mother, my own grandmother lived in Switzerland. And I, growing up, there's the other child who will get a turn in a moment. Karm, you have a controversial take on Switzerland. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but your thoughts on the most neutral country in the world.
I never visited Lugano, and they say it's a gorgeous lake. And somebody said that Clooney, what's his first name?
George Clooney.
Lake
Como.
Yeah, that wasn't that Lake Como. Oh, that was Lugano that they were talking about.
Is Lugano Italy or Switzerland?
Lugano is in Switzerland.
Oh, what do I know? A question for the COE. How do you do everything and just so well, COE? How do you do it so well without ever yelling?
I never yell or curse at anyone ever. No, and I'm kidding. No, in all seriousness, it really is a team. It's everyone here. It's Space Coast that does a lot. Obviously throughout the trials, he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot for us behind the scenes. It's all of us here, and all of our mods are amazing. And a lot of people at STS send us a lot of information on best guests, on different topics, court records. So it really does take a village. I know we always say that, but it's true.
Interesting question here. By the way,
the truth about Ileana is that she is fast, efficient, clever, smart, coordinated, all these things, except maybe one or two I don't have.
The COE and Steve Cohen should really be a unit. Their IQs are much higher than me. Who knows what will happen?
So it's divided. The left side are the slower ones. The right side.
Who knows what will happen down the road? From Patricia Banks, is it defamation or a lawsuit that you can't even say allegedly who killed Ellen Greenberg? No, it's none of those things. And the suspicion does lie toward the fiance, Sam Goldberg. And speaking of that, Mind of Monsters is incredible. Everyone should be following her. She, on her very own, somehow, I still don't know the story, she was able to get funding together and put up a billboard in Philadelphia related to Ellen Greenberg, and hopefully
it could be wrong, but she is funding it.
She's funding it. I think
yes, she started funding it. I think people can donate to it now, but she put that up herself.
Wow. Vita, my lovely daughter, my eldest child, holding Fred Morris Roosevelt Brown. I'm convinced that Mabel Rose was
I thought he was
reincarnated. Frederick. Vita, what would you like to say to the massive audience today?
Thousands and thousands.
I don't know.
It's not,
Let's think about something.
you know what? That reminds me of my father. Mom, what would Dad say when you say I don't know? He'd get very upset, even though he said it a lot.
Wait, Zizi has one.
ZZ, what is your chime in here?
So like when I'm older, I'm gonna be a rock star.
I love it.
Like who?
Like the Hales. No, like I'm gonna have my own style, so I don't know.
By the way, had you
Good answer.
Yeah.
Vita and ZZ, let the
Because
the
I can
community.
do anything if I put my mind to it.
That is correct. Now let the audience know what your father did with you today. What did I do with you today?
We were. Oh wait, what we did with
Where did I take you today?
design district. The design district.
And where did you go? What store specifically did you go to?
That's really weird. But before
Sephora.
that, you were here.
They like to get little girly things at Sephora.
Well, before that, you were all here.
Yes, we were. And Karm, tell us why we were all at your place. I already gave him.
Already.
But Karm, what did you think today? CBS News.
Thank you, always. How do always learning 603? Thank you for saying that because it's absolutely the truth. Karm only curses because of Joel.
Great question coming up from Rosemary Romero. Does the COE find it hard to balance producing a show and being a mother at the same time? And does she find it hard working with Joel, her husband?
Working with Joel, as you guys can all imagine, is just such a blessing.
Great answer. From Mo in Canada, Karm, can you please give us one curse?
Well, the other day we were invited to this podcast by Latter-day Saints
Ladder.
and I just used the word damn in a context related to other words, and they were a little shocked. So I can say damn.
And today, when CBS was here, they had us do this thing where we walked through a door. When we were on the other side, Karmela immediately dropped an F-bomb. What she didn't know was she was wearing a wireless microphone still, and everyone could hear her. So she was immediately caught within 2.2 seconds. Karm, I'm going to toss this one to you, Karm. How is your Passover going? What carbs are you craving? I want cookies, according to True Lifestyles, Susan, who helps us out a lot.
Well, I don't crave any because I have them when I feel like it.
Look at this. Shout out to Space Coast. You guys have the best Daybell feed. No one understands audio and technology quite like Space Coast, so he's going to sweeten that audio. That's what he did, and that's all thanks to Space Coast. Catherine, our friend in Maui. No one can aggravate Karm as much as Joel.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the truth was spoken.
Karm, I'd like you to react to this comment from Samantha Marlman. I must say this is by far the best channel on the internet, not just YouTube, on the internet. So, Joel, you're going nowhere. STS Nation would live boring lives otherwise. Karm, your reaction.
That's why you remember in the beginning, they asked me, how was Joel as a teenager? I said, you are seeing it now in real life. He never evolved from being a teenager. He's exactly like he was when he was a teenager. Both fun and annoying like hell. Hell is a four-letter word.
Black Widow coming to us. Karm, did you know that Ireland is a republic and not just a country? But Steve Cullen, what's the difference between a country and a republic?
I know.
Oh, what is it, Karm?
No, you say it,
Steve, what is the difference between a country and a republic? I have no idea.
I was gonna like hide my ignorance and disguise it as nobility and say, hey, let Karmela say it. So I don't really know for
No,
sure.
no. Well,
Yes.
well, take for example, England is not a republic. A republic is a democratically elected government, and monarchies are not called republics.
Mm.
This is. I will Google it afterwards, and if I put my foot in my mouth, I wouldn't be surprised.
By the way, out of the page of It's a Small World, Steve Cohen in Florida is next door neighbors with Ellen Greenberg's mother's brother. So with Sandy Greenberg's brother.
Wow.
Next door neighbors.
Wow.
Does Joel find it hard juggling professional life and parenting and dog ownership while maintaining a youthful complexion? Extremely. All kidding aside, I don't know what it is. I don't want to bore the audience with this, but I have like I can't get through the day without a nap. I'm constantly exhausted. I think it's just anxiety. I brought this up once before. I might have Lyme disease, but if anyone has any recommendations, I've tried vitamins. I could have an ear tick.
Joel, start from the basic and build it up into a complex thing. The basic is you watch Coast to Coast or you listen to Coast till late at night, and you don't sleep during the night.
By the way, I didn't tell Steve this because it just happened. My favorite radio show, I know people don't have favorite radio shows, but I've been listening to Coast since Art Bell, which is like the mid 1990s. And I direct messaged Richard Serrett. He hosts a show on the weekends. It is the most listened to radio show overnight in the world. And he responded, and his response blew me away. Number one was he listens to our podcast, Steve.
Wow. That's amazing.
And number two, he's inviting me on Coast to Coast to discuss.
That's amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So
That's
I could not believe that.
Very, very happy for you. I don't know.
I'm going to get back to that other comment from Wildfire. Karm, would you go back to your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or none? And let me just give a caveat there, a little side story. When my mother was 40 and I was 10.
No, I don't want you to tell that story.
Karm had a painting made of her, commissioned. She had a painting painted of her. And in our living room, she would sit there, and that painting sits in her home in New Jersey. And it's a beautiful painting. It's like an oil painting, and I've called first dibs on it.
He did. He deserved.
I've already called first dibs on it. But Karm, Karm, what was your best decade? Obviously not when you were 5, because you were surviving the Holocaust.
But it asks here clearly 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. All were very good in their own right. Somebody once told me an interesting theory that no human life is perfect in each stage, like childhood, young adulthood, later adulthood, old age. And people have good slices of life and then difficult slices of life. I would say, and it's not a corny thing, it is when I met Roy, who was not perfect. I mean, he was married to a perfect woman, but he himself wasn't perfect. But even though he wasn't perfect, he was perfect for me. And I think that stage of my life was good, really good.
Karm, to cheer Steve and I up, how fast does it go from your 50s to your 80s?
Here is what I learned from, who wrote the Catch-22?
Joseph Heller.
Joseph Heller. He
I answered that faster than Steve.
Yeah, exactly. You win Jeopardy.
If you guys want to have your life go
COE is like, what's Catch-22? Anyway, go on, Karm.
That's before her time. Anyway, if you want your life to go slowly, then have a very bad life, because bad lives go slower than good lives. And it's not a bad idea to try to have some of your life bad so that it would not run by, because I feel like it zoomed by like at the speed of light.
You hear that, everybody? Life zooms by at the speed of light. Steve Cohen from Julia. Steve and Joel, are you going to the Donna Adelson trial? Steve Cohen.
Yeah, definitely. We had a very eventful time during the Charlie Adelson trial back in November. As some of you know, I forgot my wallet and on the way over. But it was a nice drive. It was a chance for Joel and I to get to know each other. We got to meet the other people. We got to meet Phil and Shelley Markel, who we hadn't met. And we're there to see Donna Adelson get what she deserves, and that was really our starter. That was really the trial that started it all for this podcast to pivot towards true crime. And to reiterate, for a lot of people who are also interested in that, we felt like it had a lot of the elements that capture people's attention. And, just kind of that people talk about the 4 C's: characters, conflict, consequences, comedy. But we were interested in it, and we couldn't believe these evil people are walking around having done that for somebody else. And you want to see people get justice, and so I feel like how many have been arrested already? I mean, convicted, right? It's 4 down, right? And a couple more to go, right?
No.
Like 3 more to go. Donna, Harvey, Wendy.
Yeah.
3 more to go. I used to joke that their family is just like ours, minus the murder. Bossy mother who bosses everybody.
Although Charlie never had the wherewithal to write a book about his mom. Now he could actually.
Now he has all the time. It would be
he should write a book. Charlie, if you're listening, I'm happy to give you tips on that. It would probably sell much better than mine. Michelle Spoor, Karm, how much does your childhood affect your day to day? I live 20 minutes from the Anne Frank house and have visited multiple times with my 12-year-old daughter, who has been deeply moved. That's a beautiful story. We were actually just at a place in South Florida where Karm does a documentary for schools called Names Not Numbers, where the students' names not numbers, as in the number on your arm, which Karm does not have, but they interview her at different schools. And this particular
up so that the 8th graders learn how to make a little documentary, and they interview survivors, like 5 of them at once. They have the system. But
we'll post that. We'll post that on the Patreon page when we get it, because they produce it every year. Karm will be in it. But the reason I brought that up is this particular school in South Florida has a what do you call it? It has a what do you call that?
Holocaust.
No, it has an Anne Frank attic built, like what do you call that when it's like a replica? A replica. And it's behind a hidden door. It's very powerful.
It's in a community center. But to answer your question, there is no doubt everything that happens to us leaves a mark and the consequence and some behavior. And when Joel was interviewing me for the book, he asked me the same question, and I said, it sounds completely really corny. It was in relationship to death that he asked me, and I said I try to enjoy every day. I don't like to see a day go by without enjoying it, and it could be something like reading an article or saying hello to my children or whatever it is. I just like to get some enjoyment out of every day, and I think that's a consequence of what happened, not only to me but to the people close to me. And
COE, I don't want to give you additional work. Maybe you could put up the book tour dates. And from Rosemary Romero, who does the cooking? Vita, you can answer this one. Vita, Aaliyah, who does the cooking at your home? And what is your favorite kind of Jewish food that you like to eat?
Or you are get Zizi. It's not me who likes the Jewish food.
Zizi, come here. Hold on. Wait.
The first question: who cooks at home?
It's always me, right?
What?
It's usually me, right?
Me and my mom.
Does Daddy know how to turn the stove on?
No, he burns his hand when he does.
And Zizi, what is your favorite kind of Jewish food specifically?
What does that mean?
Like what do you make?
You like cholent, which is like meat and potato.
I like Hungarian food.
Hungarian food. Grandma's part Hungarian, correct.
I like chole, Hungarian goulash. I like
Very.
stuff Grandma makes.
You also like Italian food.
Look at crafting here. I love the show. We all need the laughter. It's a great view of your everyday life and much needed break in true crime. Steve Cohen, you like to you're a guy that hold on. Does Joel talk while you're trying to fall asleep?
Yes.
By the way, I heard from Charlie Adelson that they serve cholent in Tallahassee prison.
You must be joking.
You chole in prison.
Yes.
Oh, you should go.
I'm so that's one of my favorite foods.
Joel, did you hear that?
Yeah, cholent in
They're
prison.
serving goulash and cholent.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, got where Daly's in. What?
Lindsay Shea for Steve Cohen. Where did Meave grow up?
Hi Lindsay, thanks for always supporting us. I grew up in Long Island. I grew up in a town called Merrick, which is notable for a lot of reasons, and but we have a true crime connection there. I mean, in the block I grew up, Amy Fisher, the Long Island Lolita, lived 2 doors down from our block, which was like a dead end block. And I saw firsthand back when that happened. And there were 3 TV movies, one with Alyssa Milano about her. You know, she was the one who shot Joe Buttafuoco.
Her lover, right?
Yeah. He was a 35-year-old mechanic molesting his 16-year-old high school student. And then she shot him, and that was really one of the big tabloid cases, you know. So that's that. But I grew up in Merrick, Long Island. It was a great childhood. I have 3 sisters. I have a twin sister, 2 older sisters. Still have a lot of friends from high school. I like sports then and now, and I think, you know, as somebody had asked Karmela, like I feel like most of us are the same, right? Ileana, wouldn't you say you're about the same as you were in high school? Or, you know, how are you, have you evolved, or how are you different than you were in high school? Ileana, growing up in LA.
Hi. Yeah. No, I would say you're right. I mean, obviously we all evolve as we get older and life experiences, but for the most part, you're right. I think pretty much the same. You know, who I was back then, and just you know, mommy adult version of myself. But I definitely think that that we all have sort of been who we've been for a while now.
We're like at our core, right? I mean, I'll ask Karmela, right? Like, don't psychologists say like people are fully formed at 7 or 8, or?
Well, and it's something interesting about
say that the first 5 years are the most impactful.
I love
that theory because I had a normal family with a mother and father until I was 5.
I have a question.
But you know, something interesting about that, Cohen, is that Joel and I were looking at photos of Karm yesterday, and I Karm, some of those photos that I texted you, and these are photos from before the war. I said to Joel, I'm like, wow, Karm was so mature even as a little girl. Like, I feel like even in those photos,
well,
you can see how mature you are.
Well, because we were in the ghetto, and I was with my mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, and they talked to me incessantly, read to me incessantly, entertained me, played with me. So I was surrounded by adults.
By the way, I don't feel fully formed or close to it yet.
That's what I said. Exactly.
You're not, Joel.
I have a
You're not.
Vita, Leah. By the way, for those just tuning in, Vita makes amazing. She makes her own clothes, her own purses, her own. She's very stylish. Vita, Leah, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, I have 2 things. First, what's Long Island?
Long Island is a long island in New York. It's a very long island off of New York City.
Second, thank you, K9 Catherine.
Yeah, I think she gave. Look at this. Look at this. Sephora shopping spree.
Wow.
Oh my God.
No one more generous
Oh
than
my God, you are spoiling them terribly.
K9 Catherine is always super
Does this
sweet.
not have a name?
It does, and I'm blanking on it. She's gonna kill me, but that's my bad.
Joel, you better remember.
Sandra says, I grew up in Miami. I live in North Carolina. Karm, what made you relocate to Miami Beach?
Well, my husband's family lived in Long Beach, New York, and he's like one of these people who loves the ocean, just loves the ocean. And let me think what happened was, like many families from New York, we would travel down there for a week between Christmas and New Year just for our winter vacation. And we kind of got more and more addicted to this area because we were familiar with it. But people come down here because it's a 2.5 hour airplane flight from Manhattan, from not Manhattan, from New Jersey, from Newark, New Jersey, and he loved the ocean. I like the ocean too, I have to say, but I don't put my foot.
You love it, but you never go.
I don't know. And the other day, Joel asked me if I really know how to swim, and I really know how to swim. But I cannot stand.
By the way, is it true, or is this just a myth that you once saw someone getting attacked by a shark?
This is one of your fiction writing.
You told me once that you saw someone attacked by a shark.
I was in Opatia, Batia, near Fiume or Rijeka.
Where's that? What words were those?
Coast, where people from my town went.
Yeah.
I was there, and it was a very sad, tragic thing. Everybody was shook up. Newlyweds on honeymoon.
Yeah.
And something happened with the shark.
What year was this?
I was like 8, 9, 10, 11.
Something similar happened to us. We had our dog Ethel murder an iguana in our pool.
Yeah, very similar.
This is a great question. I'm going to go to Steve Cohen on this first from the always sagacious and also funny Ned Smith. Joel, of all the people you've met in the industry, Steve Cohen, who were you most impressed by and the most unimpressed by? Great question.
That's okay. That is a very, very good question. And I feel like if you have something nice, if you don't have anything nice to say, sit next to Joel, and Joel will say it, you know. But I think, when I was at the early show, like we met, you know, I'm sure all of us have met a lot of really interesting people and inspiring people. I thought,
name some names.
Like impressed with Bill Clinton. I met Obama. We did interviews with Bill Clinton. I think, you know, I remember we went to interview Bill Clinton during, you know, right before the election. We went to his house in Chappaqua, and I think he's a lot like what you would think he would be. You know, like he was very engaging. He took us around his house over there, and he had all kinds of knickknacks and tchotchkes that he could spin a yarn about every single one of them. This one I got in Africa. This was when I was in Little Rock. And he could tell you all kinds of things. And like people talk about, like how a cat might approach somebody who doesn't like cats. Like he would go up to the person who he would try and win over. And he was very engaging. And I'd seen him, regardless of where you stand politically, he was very effective with people and had an elastic personality. I liked one of my favorite interviews we had done over the years was with Richard Branson. And I felt that, you know, we asked him, what if you're not bright? What if you're not extroverted? What if you're not handsome? You know, what if you're not all of these things? And he said, people want to be around people who are positive. People want to be around people who
Did you hear that, Joel?
Yeah. People want to be around people who look for the best in other people. And so I certainly felt like he was somebody, you know, I enjoyed meeting and kind of, you know, seeing it up close, you know. And then there are some people who were less than exemplary. And
give us one name, Cohen. Give us one name, Cohen.
No,
Don't slip at.
He's one of these people who is so
Nah, don't slip at.
No, I mean, I feel like I'm trying to think of people. Like, I mean, we did
like think of people who are like very pompous.
Yeah, that's I feel like I'm trying to think, and I'm thinking about that kind of defamation kind of concern. You know, I feel like there's some people who pump it. Yeah, you're right. That's one of the worst things I think I found in people, are people who don't treat people well.
Or condescending.
I'll give you a name. That's fine. You know, and I remember when I was at the CBS early show, you know, we did something with Kurt Schilling, who is an amazing baseball player, and he played for the Red Sox. And I felt I was disappointed he didn't have more. He named his child Gehrig after Lou Gehrig's disease. And on that particular day, maybe he wasn't having a good day. He didn't have a lot of time to take pictures or things with those kids out there. And his handler said, well, if he doesn't have time, I'm about to be struck by lightning, Lashon Hara, talking evil about something. But like, I think that he's, you know, I said, well, if you take one picture is better than no pictures, or two pictures are better than one picture, you know, and, you know, like he was a big advocate for ALS, and he named his kid Gehrig and did that. And these kids were there for ALS. And I think that on the converse, I remember dealing with, say, Roger Federer and Steven Van Zandt, or other people who were really remarkable and very accessible. And I think you could tell a lot of times, and I'm sure Joel and Ileana could speak the same way, that if the handlers are like, no, just leave them, you know, just have them out there, you know, they're fine, they love it, you know, then, you know, you could sense how they are around the people around them. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so I think, you know, those were people that certainly came to mind. I thought Billie Jean King, I remember at Good Day New York, she was really amazing to everybody around her, had really interested in everybody, you know. And I thought, okay, I'll give you an interesting example. Like, you talk about survivors, and it made me think of, you know, the Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they're like, we invited a survivor for dinner, and it wasn't a Holocaust survivor, it was Colby from the TV show Survivor. And I remember we used to do stories of people wrongfully imprisoned, and there was this guy who spent 24 years and 24 years and 7 months in jail. This guy, Jonathan Fleming, he eventually, you know, wrongfully imprisoned. And he was there. Norman Lear, who lived to be over 100, he was there that day, as was Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black. And I felt like Laverne Cox came with big entourage and a lot of people over there, where we were treating her like she had endured something like that prisoner did after 24 years. And I was impressed with Fleming, because he knew of Norman Lear. He heard an interview about him when he was in jail. Like, it gave me a different impression on him. So those are just a few, you know.
Oh, and look at this. I don't want to. Black Widow in the Republic of Ireland. I think Steve is good on video.
Thank you, Black Widow. Thank you, Black Widow.
We're talking about Steve Cohen actually doing a show. Maybe
I'll see you in Dublin. I'll see you in Dublin, Black Widow.
By the way, people on the world tour will stop in Dublin, but people are asking if we are friends with Best Guests off the air. And I want to say something, not only with Best Guests, but with some members of the community. Karm, I know when my dear beloved father passed away, your husband, we were getting notes and letters from members of the STS community. And I honestly feel like a lot of the guests and members of the community are now friends and family. Do you feel the same way, Karm?
I have to tell you that I said it then, and I'm going to repeat it now. I always heard this, oh, it really helped me, the support of people when I was going through this serious loss. And I couldn't imagine how I would be able to go through my loss when my husband was in the nursing home and really tube fed, and we knew it was coming. And unbelievable how many personal letters I got, how many remarks on the text. What are these called, Joel? What are these called?
These are they're gifting surviving the survivor
no,
membership.
No. But what is this called on the bottom of the screen?
To comment?
The comments. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The comments.
By the way, Ruthless comes to us from the UK. And Kelby, look at this. Cohen sharing a great deal of wisdom. Go ahead, Karm.
Thank
That's
you,
one
Kelby.
thing people underestimate. We have here show people and wise people. It's divided in two major groups. And Cohen definitely goes into the wise man. No, but really, you have no idea how much it helps. People do underestimate, don't realize how just a few kinds words, like almost like from a Hallmark card, what you send, it also makes a difference. It gives you something, the feeling you are not alone in this.
A lot of very deep, Karm. I love it. Analytical Blarney gifting 5 memberships. Karm, it's a great question from Hope 8 Fear. By the way, that's a great name, Hope 8 Fear. But Karm, what is the definition of survivor for Karm?
I love it. I think hope should always eat fear. But
Your definition of survivor.
well, I started to say that we were on the. I'll get to it. We were on this podcast by the uncle and brother of Lori Vallow. What is the name of the podcast?
Silver Linings.
Silver Lining. And I felt they were survivors. They were survivors, and they took a very difficult family situation that could weigh you down, and you could literally have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. They turned it around and made an uplifting podcast out of it. So I declared them survivors. We are all survivors of one thing or another. So the word survivor has become equal to the surviving the Holocaust, but that's just one form. There are so many variations of survival.
Rosemary Romero, Joel, what is your favorite lesson that you feel you've learned from Karm? Too many to count, but the obvious one is survival. And I saw it in real time with the passing of my father. Just the way my mom's been able to handle this, married to him for 63 years, and watching her deal with his passing in real time. I still can't believe that he's not here. Karm, why am I still numb a year later? I cannot emote about my father. I've had a couple of times where I've cried to you, but otherwise.
Without psychoanalyzing myself or Joel, I think Joel is right, and it's in the book, that the way I dealt with the early loss was that I became more like cerebral and kind of repressed the emotional part and even became a little numb. And Joel is very, which I love, he's very open to his emotions.
Karm, have you had since Dad passed away, have you had a moment where you've sobbed silently? You don't have to tell us when or why, but did that happen?
No, I didn't sob openly. I just teared up and choked up and felt horrible.
Do you feel bad that it's hard to
Is it
emote?
satisfactory, Joel, or
Do you feel bad that you're not able to let it all out, Karm?
Yes, I have this issue my whole life. I hold it in, and what they call in psychology sublimate it. I find a way to avoid the extreme pain, and you just walk right into it.
From Super Planner Girl, what is the most surprising thing, either good or bad, Steve Cohen, that you've learned or experienced from being true crime YouTubers? What have you learned from this?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Super Planet Girl, who we're all getting to know and appreciate. I think it's kind of, I think it's kind of like what Karmela was just saying, like we're all survivors. I mean, I was trying to kind of ascertain why is true crime so popular, and some of it is you want to see justice done, you want to see the bad guys or bad people get caught, you want to get some vicarious kind of vindication from people getting kind of the justice they deserve. And I think I think we want to promote the idea like you can go through hard things, and that I sometimes joke about how there's an expression like WIIFM is the biggest radio station in the world, like what's in it for me. And it's kind of like when we put on these shows or other people do, what's in it for the listener? What's the value proposition? And hopefully you're watching people who are able to inspire you by saying, well, if they could endure a tough life and then, in loss and pain and keep going and whatever its iteration or incarnation of it, then your problems aren't so big, or you could overcome them and you could live the life you've imagined and kind of focus on the flowers rather than the weeds. So when I watch it, like I thought Joel did a fantastic interview with Ellen Greenberg's parents, Sandy and Josh, and Gavin Fish and their lawyer, Joe Pedroza, where for the first time since 2011, it seems like they're having some hope, yet they're cautiously optimistic. But they were finally like, okay, maybe there's a thaw in the vast injustice. And for those of you who don't know how ridiculous that case is, this woman is found with 20 stab wounds in her, and they called it a suicide rather than a homicide. And it just defies all credulity. And I think, that's their only child. And, it's senseless. And we see it a lot. And, hopefully we could provide some comfort to these people and shed more light on it. And they were appreciative of us calling more attention so something could be done about it. So when people are doing billboards or writing their congressman, hopefully you can make a difference and there are changes, that could happen.
Well articulated, Steve Cohen. From Ida Shaw, friend of the show. COE, what is your favorite thing about being a mom? All your free time?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer?
No, I mean, I obviously love seeing my kids, shine in all of their moments. They're all very special, unique kids. Joel and my kids are exhausting. But I obviously love them all and appreciate each of them and their craziness. I actually just had to shut the camera off because Zizi decided to whip her head around and knocked me out and broke my glasses, which you can now maybe see. So I love my kids. They're a lot.
If it makes you feel better, she did that to me earlier in the day. And
when did this happen now?
Yeah, just right now. So some people were asking me why my camera was off. We were just
Karm
behind the scenes.
Joel, you should express a little sympathy if she had.
Well, the same thing happened to me in the car today, and I almost got knocked out driving. So we were good, but she has a strong head. I'll give her that. Ron Hutchins, Karm, hello from Wollongong, Australia, which I have to be honest, I've never heard of till this very moment.
I am not responsible for Australian geography.
But let me ask you a question. What is it like for you to know that people are watching you in Wollongong, Australia, Karm? That the whole world, the entire globe is tuning in to see you, Karm?
Absolutely. Not you, just me. No, I'm very, very impressed. And if I could, I'm going to Google this Wollongong and find out more about it, because I'm curious what part of Australia it is, who lives there, how many people, what day is it there, what's the time difference, and so forth. There's a lot of questions. I'm very impressed. I really, like, in the book, it's pointed out that when I was growing up, we didn't have any cars in our town, and we used horse buggies for transportation of people and of goods. And now here we are on YouTube, and the whole world can watch this YouTube. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling, especially considering you started with horse and buggy. From Annie K, Karm, Please comment about the importance or place of gentle banter / humor and kidding around among your family members.
I don't know if it's that important, but it is a way of life for us to kid around and ham it up, or what is the expression?
Ham, not
What?
kosher. Ham,
Ham,
which is
not
not kosher. It's especially not kosher on Passover.
you know, if there is an option between being you know, seeing the absurd, the funny part of something, and the sad, depressing part, I would rather see the upbeat part. I'm sorry.
Rachel says, Joel, you could do a reality show behind the scenes of STS. We should do this, but first we'd have to have Steve Cohen move into the extra 30 feet of square space.
I'm in. Count me in. I'm
There you
in.
go. Bonnie Lopez with a great question. Bonnie is not a big fan of Friday shows. I won't mention whom or why, but she was enjoying this show because that particular person is not here. We agree to disagree on that, but you know, that happens in life. But Steve, have you ever had a favorite guest on the show? Number one, and how do you handle the negative comments? Great to see you in front of the camera.
Thank you, Bonnie Lopez. I think I feel like I'm going to be diplomatic, like Karm when she discusses her favorite grandchildren or people like that. I feel like I feel like there are topics like any person that I'm more interested in or less interested in. I always want to hear from people that you can learn something from. You know, I feel like, you know, Joel and I earlier were talking to Tim Jansen, and he had
Steve Cohen, by the way, this is the best comment of the show. Who is Steve? Just got here.
Hi, Remy. But I feel like I want to listen to people where I kind of learn something from, and that maybe I didn't know, right? So that's the value proposition from them, and that they're good communicators, and you know, that you could kind of even listen to them and be like, wow, I didn't see it that way. Or they're just really, really passionate. And even if it's a subject that you don't like that much, it's infectious and they're authentic about it. And they're not doing it for other means. Like you see some podcasters and maybe they're interested in views or money, which is all fine. But I think you have to do the job and make the main thing the main thing. And I could say this, you know, with us, like we take it very seriously. We try and put the best guest on. We try and be prepared, and we try and be very mindful of everybody's time, you know. And then if there are negative comments, I feel like, you know, I think I grew up my dad's son, and he was a physician and he was fantastic. He's still, you know, 14 years or whatever after retiring, he still has patients who remember how he treated them or how he did things. And he took a lot of pride in it. But he would say, look, most people swore by me. Some people swear at you. You know, you can't please everyone. I always think about that old Ricky Nelson song about that, but you just kind of try and do your best, focus on the positives, and focus on all of the great people who are listening. And, you know, that's, I think, a way to go through it. And if it's constructive criticism, you kind of listen to it and say, okay, you know what, here's what we could do better, you know, and that's it. The biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. So I think we should.
Well, we should really write those.
I'm going to write a book called Steve-isms.
Well, my dad always says it, and you know, and I probably should. And I think Joel's an inspiration in Karm because, you know, we all could make extra time to do things. But you know, another way of saying that is, though, I try and practice what I preach. You know, I never was that great with criticism, and if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. So you kind of have to listen.
Wow, we have to write these down.
Well, the one I would say to Ruth Markel, because Ruth Markel sometimes, you know, wants to be our executive producer, and she's like, I hope I'm not annoying you. And I said, Ruth, if I'm afraid to be rubbed. How am I going to be polished? You know, so I think that's a lot of it is how do you choose to look
No,
at things.
we have to
And we'll
run.
do it. Well, don't tell my dad. And so I feel like Joel
Evisms.
Karm doesn't have a monopoly on, you know, people who are tough on them, and you know, and so I think we all have to look at it and say things happen.
Part of the reality show will be Steve at the breakfast table teaching my children all of his Steve-isms. They will learn, and then they'll go to school and tell everybody the Steve-isms. They'll say, Vita will say, I know two big doctors. One is 6'10", the other is 360 pounds. That's another Steve-ism. Karm.
I like this. I love this. The biggest room is the room for improvement.
Karm, where are you, Karm, in the process of doing an audio version of your book?
Oh, it's good you asked, because yesterday we had, they are working on it. We finished our jobs, and then they said we missed 20 pages of a book of 300 pages, which is I'm not saying this because Joel wrote it about me and himself, but it really is a good reading.
Thank you, Karm.
I don't,
by the way, if you haven't,
family, because they will all hate me afterwards, and they're all here for the holiday.
If you haven't heard, I've written a book. It's called Surviving the Survivor, available now on Amazon. It's out in bookstores on May 14th. COE, how's a concussion? Ned Smith letting us know that her own father knocked himself out with a cast he had on his arm. I'd like to know more about that, Ned Smith. I'd like to know the movement involved. Karm, here's a great question from Beach Bum. Hey, Karm, I became a first-time grandmother, Mazel Tov, on Sunday. Any advice coming now from a great-grandmother?
Oh, my God. You must feel good about this. You must feel happy. And I hope they are not on another continent or very far. And I hope you can enjoy the growth of this child and the development. I have a terrible situation now. My great-grandson, the first one, who was named after my husband, came to Miami, staying next door, and he has the worst cold, and his mother has the worst cold, and they're sleeping in my apartment. They're not here now.
Perfect timing for the book tour, Karm. Perfect timing for the book tour.
That's why I'm very afraid of catching it. As a matter of fact, I made them take, and I'm usually not a hypochondriac, I made them take a COVID test, and it came back negative. And the minute I told Joel said, oh, my COVID test came back negative, until I went to the doctor and he told me it's positive.
Yeah, that was fun. Abby Tahahaha is a friend of the show.
Enjoy the grandchild. I digressed.
We had Abby on our show on her birthday, and she was working, I think, for like I remember Abby. I just can't figure out, maybe an insurance company, something like that. But look, now she says, I'm working at a nursing home as the activity director. I hope it's not Miami Jewish where my dad died. I love it and all the people so very much. It is what I was made for. Karm, how important is it? I try to drill this down to my kids.
Really
Karm, how important is it for kids to grow up and do something that they love to do?
I have to tell you that I felt.
Which, by the way, you never told me that. You told me to go become a lawyer or something. It's horrible advice.
I felt that I was absolutely lucky in this, that I felt that what I was doing in my life, I kind of was meant for that. And if I would have had to do something else, I couldn't have done it. But this I did with all my heart and all my strength, and I really enjoyed what I was doing. And I did it for about 37 years.
What does Karm like to do when
helping people?
Karm, when you have a day off, what do you like to do? Liz W would know. And look at this. Perth, Western Australia is in the house. Love STS. Such a great community. Daddy Shortnut says Karm specializes in unkosher humor. This is very true. But Karm, on your day off, what do you like to do?
You know, it's funny because now that I'm retired, I have people that I call my clients. They don't know this and they would kill me or they would really be hurt, but I try to help them. I always get people around me I try to help. And it's probably a little bit selfish because by helping them, I help myself.
From Remy Nos. I love this name, by the way. Karm, what is the one thing that you would tell your younger self, Karm? Great question.
Don't be so lazy.
Steve Cohen, what's the one thing that you would tell your younger self, Steve Cohen?
That's a very good question. I probably tell myself a lot of things. I think a lot of it, and you and I are very similar in a lot of ways. Like I think then and now I probably had a lot of anxiety and probably wasn't as effective of living in the moment. Like even now, appreciating what you have. And like I've said, focusing on the flowers rather than the weeds. I think probably just like be compassionate towards yourself and like Henry Thoreau said, go more boldly in the direction of your dreams, right? Like, and but
wait a minute, the plot thickens. Somebody's coming.
Karm,
come here. Do you want to hear a beautiful British? This is one of my honorary.
This is Joe, my oldest niece's husband, and Joe as well is going to fight in the Israeli army once this vacation is over. Joe, what's it like to have Joe?
Wait, I have a complaint.
Please voice it. Voice it.
My comment was horribly ignored. I asked. I wanted to ask Steve Cohen if he thought it was acceptable to ruin Roy's funeral on Zoom because.
I screwed that up. Yes, I'm the worst person ever. I'm glad you never said anything about that.
We were
I
all
felt like Larry David. Yes, I remember that, and sorry about that.
Wait one second.
Joe, please explain what you're talking about. No one knows. Hold on, Joe. Please explain.
Come sit down here. Sit down here.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe, explain this, please.
So my lovely honorary grandmother, Karmela, lost her late husband, Roy, who we named our firstborn son over last year. And during the funeral, which we saw on Zoom from Israel, me and my wife and her sisters, we were watching it and we were terribly mourning the situation. And halfway through the funeral, Steve accidentally didn't mute himself and he ordered a pizza at the funeral.
No, it wasn't that. I just will explain what it was because I remember my friend also lost her dad. It was in the spirit of mourning, and I was ordering them something before Shabbos, like a kosher place in Detroit. But again, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. I thought nobody had heard it. I thought it was like
people in England. This guy is an authentic Londoner.
Yeah.
Look at this, Joe. You're picking up a fan base. Joe is adorable. He's also married.
I actually
Nancy, I appreciate that. What a lovely
Joe. If I had your accent, everyone is loving your accent. It irritates me.
They should love more than his accent. They should love his personality.
Yeah.
Karm, look at this. Jody Johnston says, "I'm 50. Karm, I'm 54." From Jody, will Karm adopt me, please?
Yeah, I always wanted to have more children.
But Joe, I know you're not allowed to talk about specifics, but on a serious note, and this is not to be political, what is it like to be a soldier right now on the border of Lebanon? What is it like for you?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Having to leave all your creature comforts back at home in a normal world, and then leave your wife and your son and go and defend the country. I spent 5 months on the Lebanon border with my brother-in-law, we were standing in the cold in the winter, and we were in a very tough conditions. It was cold, it was rainy, we had to do everything we can to protect the country, and we face some challenges every single day, but we're proud and we're happy to do it.
Joe, you should be the IDF spokesperson. That's your next job, and I will speak to the powers that be to ensure this happens. Look at Bonnie Lee Lopez. By the way, Joe, do you know where this is? Hampshire in the UK.
Hampshire, yes. It's outside London. Hi, Lily Pooley.
And Joe, what do you think of the fact that we have people from your homeland watching our show? What is that? What do you think of this?
I think it's tremendous that you've built up such an audience. Legal-minded friends. Oh, you got a lot. Oh, wow, look at this. You got a real following going on in the UK. You should be proud.
Yes. By the way, Joe, Black Widor, who's a friend of the show, she always corrects me and makes me address Ireland as the Republic of Ireland. Can you please explain what a republic is and how it's different than England, which is not a republic?
Isn't a republic a place where you have a king or a monarch?
The opposite.
Or the opposite, one or the other?
The opposite. If you have it's not a republic. I know this from the French Revolution, everybody, because I lived to know that was in 1789, and they overthrew the king and became a republic.
By the way, this is my favorite question of the day so far from Misbelieving. Greetings, Karm. Do you have anxiety like Joel? And if so, how do you remedy it?
I have to tell you something.
I'll leave you to it.
I have to.
Joe,
Thank you for having me.
love you. Hey, Joe, you should have a regular show on our podcast. By the way, before Joe leaves, he does business in Taiwan over the internets. And today he was talking to his guy in Taiwan, and I made the guy in Taiwan go on Amazon. And Joe very graciously offered to pay for a couple of Surviving the Survivor books to be ordered.
His arm is in a sling because you twisted it.
Just 1,000 books. That was all that I asked him to order.
No problem.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
We'll get them. We'll get them there.
Okay,
Joe, study up on true crime. You'll be hosting a show starting next week. Karm, interesting question earlier from Hope 8 Fear. She would like to know, and this treads into dangerous water. By the way, he is really a soldier. He's a reservist, but he is really a soldier. And look how young he looks. And most of the guys are a third of his age that are actually fighting.
No. He's 30.
He's 30, and the guys are 20 or 2/3, whatever. Karm, Hope 8 Fear wants to know your thoughts on cancel culture. I would like to hear this too.
Well, then we are going into politics.
No, we're not. Because
Yes.
people are being canceled on both sides. Just in general, where is Space Coast? But no, Karm, in general, people on both sides of the aisle have been canceled. What do you think of being basically...
I feel badly, first of all, about Space Coast, because this is a misunderstanding. All the people who are actively working on the podcast were supposed to be here, and Joel said he understood that that Space Coast wasn't really into going public with his face. So it was a misunderstanding. We should have forced him. We are insensitive as a group of 4, and we should mend our sins and make him come on them, because people want to know where he is.
Yeah, we need to get Space Coast on here. Someone just pointing out the USA is a republic. Shadow saying hi from Belfast, Karm. This is a great question. Karm, do you know what a bucket list is, Karm?
I know exactly.
Okay, what is still on your bucket list? Fantastic question.
One of the main things of my bucket list is live a little longer.
Karm, how long would you like to live? I mean, like, when would it become a detriment?
Anxiety. I want to answer. I saw it and then we changed with Joe.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
This is kind of interesting, and I'm going to address it. But they say there are 2 kinds of people in this world: the ones who get ulcers and the ones who give ulcers. So I am in the group that give ulcers to other people. In other words, I don't have anxiety, but I'm annoying enough to the other people that they get ulcers. So no, I don't suffer from anxiety in general. I get anxious about certain things. I was very anxious when Iran sent 300 missiles on Israel and my grandchildren were sitting there in Tel Aviv. I was anxious. But in general, that's not my modus operandi to be anxious. And I think it's also partly genetic. I hate to say this because my husband suffered from anxiety.
Yes, I would say that. So it's a part of my
And I
existence.
think it's kind of a little bit of a Jewish thing because, after 2,000 years of
I get particularly anxious when I don't have something specific to be anxious about.
yes, this is very, very stressful.
No, I'm serious. When I don't have like a specific thing, like maybe this weekend things are calm, head of the book tour. COE, they want to see your face. Steve Cohen, I'm not going to ask you this question. Steve, I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest, this is my own question. What is the single biggest life lesson that you would say your own father or mother taught you? Look at this. Collier Landry is in the chat.
Nice. Hi, Tyler.
He danced with Karm at CrimeCon. Collier Landry, not only good looking, but smart with beautiful eyes. Steve Cohen, the biggest life lesson that your father taught you?
I think my dad taught me a lot of lessons. I mean, I think, and I'm fortunate he's still around, obviously, I think that he was at heart a caregiver. He was a physician. He really enjoyed practicing medicine. He liked helping people. He wasn't incredibly materialistic. And so when I work with people, whether they're paying me X or Y or Z, I try and just do the best job I can possibly can. And I'm not too caught up in that kind of aspect of it. He's watched, obviously, a lot of people die. He felt it was more important to treat people really well on a day-to-day basis rather than to be all schmaltzy and histrionic when they passed. So he was pretty much a metronome. He was very consistent, very hardworking, and he was a person of
Steve,
great routines.
your dad is incredibly, I love the guy, very even keel.
Yeah.
My mother, I would never use the word even keel. She's very excitable, but
Your
neither of them.
father was even killed.
Yeah, but Steve, I feel like we're let me put it this way, that you and I are emotionally less stable than our parents. What happened?
Yes, that's true. The sky is blue and Christmas is on December 25th. Yeah, we have a tremendous grasp of the obvious.
I don't know why.
I love this. Let's think that you have a tremendous grasp of the obvious.
No, I mean, I think that and you're right. And you hope that we could change in ways that we need to change. I'm sure as we speak, Bugs is crossing her fingers behind her back, hoping that, I think it's like I've heard somebody say, like Mel Robbins would say, like, don't say I'm a procrastinator, say I have a habit of procrastinating. But I think that I have some characteristics that we all need to work on. Like I need to work on a people pleaser, spread myself too thin, and you try and do too much in some ways. And I think there are solutions to it, and I'm a big sports fan like Joel is, and look at the best athletes. I a lot of times think of how they can't be sped up or slowed down. They do their thing, and whether you're a quarterback and there's a rush coming and you kind of do your thing. And I think Karm is like that in her own way, where she's not allowing herself to get influenced too much either. And same with Ileana, like when we've had to deal with different people, she kind of maintains her frame. They both do. But you hope that you could change it.
What they call psychologically well defended.
Yeah. Look at this from Daniel 3:18.
My defenses are up.
Steve, you are truly a sweet man. One of the funniest and nicest things I heard you say recently, you were complimenting someone and said, and I quote, that guy could sell a pogo stick to a kangaroo.
Yeah.
Yet in other, Steve, what percentage of Steve-isms come from you, and what percent have you stolen from your father?
Doesn't matter.
I know my dad isn't really like a quipster. Like he probably has a couple of things, I think like some people can remember different things, and I'm one of them. And I've never like professed to like come up with it, myself, but I try and be funny, try and be witty, but I think that, yeah, I mean, I just am pretty good at just remembering things and probably the right time to say it. We all have different abilities. Like sometimes I'll be at a cocktail party and I'll see somebody and I can recall things pretty quickly, and there'll be other people there. It's like, watch, Steve's like Rain Man. He'll know exactly, everything about you or this kind of stuff. And I don't know,
But
like,
you also have tons of friends.
thank you. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's interesting that you should say that. Like, I feel like when I've gone through tough times and, I probably don't do as much as I should, whether you're mine and Joel's age or Liana's age or Joe's age. Like, people talk about, the importance of, they say the 3 C's. I'm big on mnemonics, but they say, like, as you get older, and you're a perfect embodiment of it, you want challenge, you want connection, you want contribution, and you're doing all those things, at your point in life. And earlier, to bring up a point, like, I remember meeting Tony Bennett, who lived to be very late, and we went to watch him paint, after he was singing. And I thought he was very impressive. He's like, I'm still trying for perfection. Or you meet Judy Blume at 87 and she's like, what's my next great book? Or 80s, she's in her 80s, I believe, and it's, so I think that's good, to just keep going and doing things. But yeah,
Wait a second. This is very important. Large, dangerous tornadoes.
Yeah, this is why I put it up. Karm, any advice? Large, dangerous tornadoes near her family in Iowa. Any tornado advice, Karm?
She's calling to check if they are okay.
Yes. Are you? What advice have you ever been?
A tornado expert too.
Yeah. Karm, have you ever read? Sharon is saying to get the book "How to Stop Worrying and Start Living" by Dale Carnegie. Karm, have you read that?
But you all should.
And
I actually was listening to that. I actually was listening to that on tape, Sharon.
Cohen, look at this. Dwayne Harris. I didn't mean to cut you off, but look, Joel, I have extreme anxiety. It's awful to live with. I'm constantly tired from it, Dwayne. You and I are gonna have to hang. I'm always exhausted from it. We can commiserate. But
Dwayne's in Detroit, Joel. Is Dwayne?
Steve Cohen, by the way, went to University of Michigan. He's a diehard Go Bluer, Dwayne. Steve Cohen, what did you glean from that book, if anything?
How to deal with anxiety, how to stop worrying, and I remember writing down a lot from it. I think it's Dale Carnegie, who I enjoy a lot of his stuff, and I remember just the idea about how debilitating worry is, and how it's not effective and it's not constructive, and however you are able to deal with it, you kind of got to just, I imagine one way of phrasing it is you fake it till you make it, but you kind of got to just put things aside and just keep moving forward. And you're very, very, high functioning. There's a woman named Dr. Judith Joseph who, we'll have on the podcast, and she's an amazing psychiatrist in New York, and she's working on a book on high functioning depression or anhedonia. And just, you're very, very high functioning despite, having a lot of anxiety or neuroticism, and, we all have our crosses to bear, right? I mean,
Beach Bum here says it's part of being Gen X. Jennifer Jansen says, Karm, see you guys in New York City. No better time than this to put this up. If you want to meet Karm in real life, this is the chance. May 6th, we're going to be in Miami Beach. This is next week, a week from Monday. It happens to be Holocaust Remembrance Day. COE, let us know. How's the concussion, COE?
It's okay. Just wanna, guys, hold on.
The word concussion and my kids screaming within 1/10 of 1 second of each other is my life summed up. COE, how's a concussion?
Good. I'm feeling better. Something that some people here pointed out for Philly, it says 6 p.m. at Booked in Chestnut Hill. It doesn't mean that the event is booked. I believe the actual venue.
The place is called Booked. It's called Booked.
When I was making this, I asked you that too, Joel.
Yes, I'm sorry. But you see here, yes, go ahead, COE.
No, and only 3 locations so far need an RSVP. We also have some other stops that Karm and Joel are doing in August and in July. I'll be posting a new graphic up with those. But for now, for May and June, these are the ones that.
By the way, Bugs, when I put up, do you have to manually do that?
Yes,
Where you?
yes. Joel thinks
I've
that things
always wondered
automatically.
this.
No, I physically do it. Every
I've
time you
always
block someone, I physically have to unblock them.
Wow, look at this. From Love My Sully Blue, the COE has gorgeous hair. By the way, I found out that some people
I have
call
curly hair.
the COE Co. Just simply Co. Ida Shaw says the Co has gorgeous everything. I would have to agree.
I also.
The temper can flare sometimes, but we like to not focus on that. Anyway, going on here, May 6th, Miami Beach. That's a week from Monday. May 19th, New York City. May 16th, Boston. In Boston, Ann Burgess is coming. May 19th in New York City, CBS national correspondent Jim Axelrod. Philadelphia, Scott Duffy. May 21st, hopefully Ruth Markel will be there. June 6th, you're going to have Tim Jansen, and June 23rd, Tampa, and Steve Cohen will probably show up at a couple of these.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
Yeah.
So,
assuming I am still alive, I'll participate.
is the book tour coming?
I don't mean in a dramatic sense in being killed by so much activity. And
I would love to go to Buffalo. We are working on DC. I'm working on that. I have a friend of mine who's got some contacts there, so I'm working on that. And there's a book tour coming to California. It's not on here, but August 15th, we're going to be at the Grove in
LA.
At the Grove in LA, and a few other places. So that's
I suddenly started to pay attention to the names. The names that
book signing in Philly is wide open. Come visit us in Philly. That's just the name of the place. Book. Go ahead, Karm. Sorry.
No, I said that sometimes I look at people's names that they gave themselves, and they're so clever. It takes me like long enough so that already the thing is taken off, the comment is taken off. But they have such clever names.
COE, real quick.
Yeah, I'm
Courtney.
waiting for you to react.
Yeah,
when you remove it, I have to physically do it. So when
no. Courtney is asking, how do I RSVP for Tampa? There's a link, but how does I think you might have to call the Oxford Exchange, or what else, COE?
Or I will put a link right now in the chat. We also have a link on the STS Facebook page. Joel is also going to be sharing a link on Instagram, and I will share it on the community tab here on YouTube. I'll share the link so that anyone can click on it. And for those 3 cities, for Miami Beach, for Boston, and for Tampa, you do have to RSVP. For the other cities, I believe you can just show up.
And COE,
you can always email us, survivingthesurvivor@gmail.com.
COE, a gentle reminder, you're in a WhatsApp chat for Miami Beach mothers, and that chat, you will remind them on Monday and Tuesday once again. I know that you will. Look at Collier Landry. COE here, do you have to manually put it back too?
Yes, every time you do this during a show, it doesn't automatically pop back. I physically have to.
You might have to get a little quicker on the switch.
Oh my God. Couldn't do it if his life depends.
Sometimes I leave it up just to see Joel's reaction.
Yeah, Co is stunning in person from Collier Landry. Joel, you're a lucky man. Karma too. Karma, I think we should switch your name officially to Karma. Yes, Gail wins. We're going to be at Oxford Exchange. Oxford. I am not meaning to do this, but Tampa, June 23rd. Please come out. Gail wins. I like that name, Gail wins.
That's
Collier, you're obviously you and Tara are special guests at the signing in the Grove in LA. Ann Karm, let's talk about Ann Burgess for a moment. She's 3 years older than you. She teaches full time. She's coming to our book signing in Boston. Your thoughts on Ann Burgess?
There is always one that has to be better than you to make you feel
Ann is really, look, this is not a joke. Anne is both an actual living legend, like she's been deemed a living legend, but she's actually a living legend, which is amazing.
She's also a scholar. I mean, she has vast knowledge, and she wrote books, and she's very unusual. I met her in person, very soft-spoken, gentle, no BSing like yours truly. And I was impressed.
Joel, relax. Let people finish their thoughts, I say with love. It's my ADHD. I get tense. Dwayne Harris, the guy, just continues to gift memberships. Jennifer Jansen gifting memberships. And Analytical Blarney AB. Look at this. Brady Starr confirming what I've already said. Collier Landry, so handsome. Best eyes, no doubt about that. I would like to think that if I had Collier's eyes, I might have been a bigger anchor in America. Instead, I was just a nobody. Steve Cohen, what would the four of you, but you in particular, Steve Cohen, what would you hope to do in the future? What other boxes do you need to check, Steve? And then we will slowly wrap this party up.
I think that's a good question. I think
if it was a bad question, would you still answer it?
Well, I think I could improve the relationships I've had, and just I think that's always the age-old question, right? Like what the things that you want to put on your resume and the things you'd want people to say about you in your eulogy, and what do you want people to remember you by? Those are two distinct things. But I feel like, again, so I'm not as neurotic as I've been. Like, I think I've really focused on just kind of focusing on the actions, not the outcomes. But I think, just kind of having increased success, reach your potential, and look back and say I did everything I could, and use my time on this earth wisely. I think that's what all of us want or should want.
Is Steve from Michigan? I got my master's degree of social work from the University of Michigan. Karm has her master's in social work. Steve, let the world know again where you are from.
I grew up in Long Island, which is like, suburb of New York City, about 45 minutes to an hour from New York City. And then I attended college, University of Michigan, and it was a great 4 years there, and still have so many friends from there. It's a great place.
Karm, look at this comment from Yala. Is Steve single? We've long
talked. Now is your golden opportunity, Yala, because he's single again. And
we've long talked about Karm. In your retirement, would you like to head up? Would you like to be the COE of STS singles, Karm?
I would love to help because I believe that being a couple is so much better than being alone. So I would help in any way I can.
Yala, you got to email the COE, Surviving the Survivor at Gmail. Maybe there's a love connection. You never know.
Even if it's a sympathy connection that could grow into something.
Sympathy's not bad. Yeah. Sympathy's not bad.
Co from Bonnie Lee Lopez. I'll let you take this one. What has been your biggest surprise about the podcast, and what's next for STS? This is a good way to start to wrap it up here.
Hi, sorry. The biggest surprise, I think, is the fact that people keep showing up day in and day out, and also we're covering these we're covering these very heavy stories. And I think the biggest surprise is that through all of this, as we saw this week with Best Guest stepping up and with Mind of Monsters stepping up, is that in all of these really sad cases, you really do also see so much beauty and so much light and so much giving that so many people give. And we're talking about strangers that don't know each other, that don't know any of the victims or the families. So I think that's probably the most surprising thing. And what is next for STS? I have no idea. I think we're all always just doing everything on the fly. So we don't even know what's next.
We have no idea. We do know that on Monday and Tuesday, we'll be doing Karen Reed's opening statements are on Monday. Space Coast will have that. Would Steve Cohen's book and shows Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. I just want to gauge how interested. If there's breaking news, we'll pivot to breaking news. Karm, this is an intellectual question.
No, this is in Spanish.
Doña Karmela. What is
Mrs.
What?
Mrs. Like,
oh, Mrs. Is that
like
Spanish?
Senora, Donna.
Oh.
Do you prefer Dr. Freud,
Yeah.
Frankel's therapeutical school, or what kind of therapy would you recommend? Saluda desde España.
From Spanish. That's unbelievable.
Anyway, to make the long story short in English, because I don't speak
Karm, do you happen to know what book Viktor Frankl wrote?
I happen to know Dr. Frankl wrote after the Holocaust. He wrote a group of books. I am at this point in life that I distilled through the years, because I was in the same profession with my husband, and we did this for so many years. We distilled out of everything something, and we created something that was applied to the person himself rather than one theory or another, something that fit that person. And all that we sifted. I wish I knew what's the Spanish word for sifted. Do you know, Ileana? Ileana?
She doesn't. Her papaya, her grandfather always
Sorry,
said she doesn't really know Spanish.
Guys, hold on, I can't hear. Sorry, Karm. Can you repeat that?
Sifting
How do
like
you sift
flour.
through something
flour
in Espanol?
Do you know by any chance?
Sifting, as in like you're sifting.
In Spanish.
Give me the sentence.
That everything that I do with clients and that I know in psychology, I sifted through my own personality.
I wouldn't know a direct translation for sifting, but I could translate a sentence.
God, my
Okay,
child.
how would you say it in Spanish? Because they're Spanish.
There he is, Fred Brown. I don't think she knows the answer.
Yeah, I can say it. Todo lo que aprendí haciendo mi trabajo en terapia. What else, Karm?
That I sifted
It's
through
something
my
chaos.
own
Sorry, I
personality.
apologize.
I figured I give you a challenge. Your life is too easy right now, and relax.
Karm, this is a comment that's interesting. Ola STS just got home and found you live. I was at a Sex in the City watch party. Karm, you knew very well one of the stars of Sex in the City. He's from our
Because
hometown.
He was
He went
from
to
our
high school with
hometown.
my sister.
His name was
He was
Willie
Stanford.
Fascinant.
Yeah, is it Stanford or Sanford? Stanford. Stanford on Sex in the City is from my hometown. And very sadly, he passed away. He had pancreatic cancer. I found out about that death on TMZ, but he was friends
I
with
love
my.
when she said, I just got home and found you live. I'm glad you didn't find us dead. No, it's okay. You did it correctly. Just it struck me.
This is a great question. Rest in peace, Willie
live.
Garson. COE, will you go back to having your own show? You did do it for 2 days. Will you ever go back to doing it again, COE?
Sure.
COE? She's not answering.
She's taking care of 2 dogs, 3 children. What do you want from her?
Rhonda White says it. Love you all. I think this is probably the best time to start wrapping it up. Steve Cohen, you've been an amazing.
Invited to dinner.
Steve Cohen is an amazing addition.
Thank you.
You can hear the crowd clamoring for Steve. Steve, we're going to have to get you set up with a Sunday or some type of show as we build up Surviving the Survivor. Your final
Very
thoughts.
exciting.
Yeah, Steve Cohen, your final thoughts on this very special day. And by the way, Steve, what do you think of Fred Brown, Steve, before you get going?
Oh, it's very cute. Very, very cute dog.
Thank you.
I was never, and I wasn't a huge pet person growing up, but I could see why people really are interested in them, you know.
Yes,
so
they're
good
good
for
creatures.
you. Good for the Waldmans. I think it's great. I think, you know, we're really working hard, and the work works, you know, and so I think we'll keep at it, and I think we want to service our customers, and we want to hear from them in the community, you know. So and yeah, I think it's great. Thanks for having me today, and you know, we'll keep getting better. you know, and so I'm excited about it. Looking
The
forward.
biggest room is room for improvement. Steve
Correct.
Cohen.
Yeah.
The biggest room is room for improvement. Cynthia in Spain. Karm, this is a
Cynthia.
question only you can answer.
I read it. Karm, why am I drawn to true crime stories? I know the answer. Unfortunately, about me, this you have to learn. I always know the answer, even if I don't know the answer.
Thank you to Ida Shaw for the
But
slush
in
fund
this
money.
case, I think you are drawn to true crime because there is nothing more fascinating on this planet with all the beautiful nature than human behavior. To me, the human behavior is the most fascinating thing. And true crime is also about human beings. I mean, major horrible aberrations and horrible crimes, but it's still part of human behavior, and we want to know why do these people do this? Why is this happening? And I think that's the fascination also, to find out the psychological motivation. Look at Steve. He likes you.
Karm always has the answer. Oh, here we go. This is an important question. COE, is Steve the first bachelor in STS singles history? And your thoughts today. Judah Mack, J Mac. Tell the global audience watching us from Goolagong, Australia and beyond. What are your thoughts today, Judah? What do you have to say? What were you asking for today?
A toy guitar and
You want an electric guitar, an electric toy guitar.
yeah.
Let me tell you something. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. If you become a rock star, not only will it be fun for you, but I'll finally be able to retire and we'll travel the world together. So I will get you that toy guitar immediately. Vita, Leah, where's your sister that almost knocked your mother out?
Wait, what?
Where's your sister?
Well, Zizi and Judah and me were playing with her kids in the house, and I had no idea what she was doing. She's like in my room listening to music, jumping around.
Joel.
Yeah.
The time has come and the time is now.
Vita, your final thoughts today, Vita. What would you like to say?
Yes. Today.
I don't know that I understood that.
Is we should do this again next time, but I should be on it like this whole time. Like just like on my computer.
Carmela Carlone. Oh my God, there is another Carmela.
Carmela Corleone.
Corleone. Yeah.
Kids, do what I trained you to do in public. Tell everyone to buy my book on Amazon. Let's hear it.
Buy the book on Amazon. Officially coming down. My book.
Oh, look at this. Yeah, from Space
Joel,
Coast.
Can be a musician.
That's Mario.
Yes.
From a recovering touring musician. Yeah, that's probably I was thinking
next time, no stories. You have to be part of the show.
Karm is done. This is true. Karm, I think we may have hit 111,000 with this show. This show put us over the top.
I want to say something. Awesome.
I love everybody who is here or not here today. I'm sure that you had good things to do today, all of you, and bad things to do.
Okay.
Vita, let
Joel.
your grandmother talk.
Joel, I have to go, darling.
Okay.
Karm, we love you. Kids, we love you.
Bye,
It is
sweets.
Bye, Karmela. Bye.
Steve Cohen.
Bye,
Thank
Joel.
you, Steve Cohen. We'll
Yeah.
catch up.
Joel,
Yeah,
your son needs to
weekend.
talk.
Steve, if you get married by next time, we are on again as a group. You
Yes.
can thank STS Nation. They found
Thank
you.
y'all. Yeah.
You guys, Vita, Zizi, and Judah, you are now best guests. Vita, Zizi, Judah, say your final piece here because we have to go. Your final words.
STS Nation, and make sure you subscribe and buy the book on Amazon. They officially come out on May 14th.
Thank you.
Chip off the old
Judah, you're very well trained, Zizi. Judah
wants to say something. Give him one minute.
Judah, go for it.
Judah,
You don't have to, Judah, you work in a circus family, but you don't have to do anything.
whatever you want.
Say hello.
The
Judah,
Wallander.
time is running out.
Okay.
Love you. Bye bye.
Bye,
No,
everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Love you,
Thanks,
America.
Thanks,
Love
guys.
you, the Republic of Ireland. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure. One of our best shows
England,
ever.
England.
Yeah,
Karm, I'm
thanks,
cutting
guys.
you off. I love you. Love you, Steve. Love you, Karm.
Bye.
Love you,
Bye,
kids.
guys.
Love you, everyone. Have a great
Bye.
weekend. We'll be back with Karen Reed on
Bye.
Monday.
Bye.